So next up, we have a nice featherweight bout here. We got a nice young prospect in Lerone Murphy taking on more of a vet in Douglas Andrade. Andrade? Andrade? How do you
Andrade.
say his last name?
Douglas Silva de
Andrade. All
Andrade,
right,
yes.
Andrade. All right. And so, we got Lerone Murphy on one side. He sports a 9-0-1 record in the UFC's 1-0-1. He did win his first UFC fight back in July, knocking out Ricardo Ramos after creating a draw in his first one against Zubaira Tukhugov. One thing that really stood out to me is the height and reach advantage here for Murphy as well. Curious to see if he can, utilize that. Douglas on the flip side, he has a nice 26-3 record, looks real sparkling. However, all three of his losses have come in the UFC. So he has a 4-3 record in the UFC. Ironically, his debut was also against Zubaira Tukhugov, which was back in 2014. He lost that one. Some of his two other losses are Rob Font and Pirrello, which are beasts. So all credible losses in those three losses that he has. Otherwise, he's 26-0. So can't take anything away from this guy. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. And what's interesting to note about Douglas as well is that he beat Marlon Rivera back in 2018. So, that's someone we've seen climb through the ranks real quick as well.
Yeah, so for me, I really love the fact that, we're seeing a lot of underrated fights come up in this card. We just talked about one, and I think this is another beautiful one. First of all, can we talk about how Movsar Evloev was supposed to fight Douglas Silva de Andrade as well? And that fight didn't happen because Movsar, Andrade had to withdraw. Don't nobody want that Movsar smoke, bro.
No, nobody.
Don't nobody want that smoke, bro. Wow. This man can't buy a fight, dog. Crazy. Shout out to fucking Movsar Evloev. Just running things right now. But in any case, you brought up a lot of the kind of things that I wanted to talk about, right? Like, let's talk about a little bit of MMA math here, right? Tukhugov has such a role to play in this fight, right? Murphy draw. And the first person to ever beat Douglas Silva de Andrade, Zubaira Tukhugov. So this is such an interesting fight, right? Like, this man should, maybe he needs to be involved in some kind of a handicap match here or even a triple threat. Who knows? But, I think Murphy went into his original fight highly underrated. Ricardo Ramos was a massive, massive, massive prospect. The guy had good submission skills. The kicks were everything people were talking about. And honestly, I don't think Lerone Murphy was even phased. He was able to use the footwork that he had as a boxer, seemed to be the better boxer overall, was able to utilize that footwork, land some of his own shots. And frankly, the ground did not seem to be a problem. He got in trouble early in the first, but resilience proved big for him. He got out of that, got back to the feet. And from that moment on, he kind of dictated most of the fight. There was a moment where maybe he kind of gave up his back a bit, but you know what? I loved everything I saw from him. The resilience in the places where you thought he was going to be the absolute worst. I mean, the places where you thought he was going to be good, he was really good. And like when you flip to the other side, it's like Douglas Silva Andrade, we're seeing a lot of guys that are coming out that were kind of like Santiago Ponzinibbio is a guy that comes to mind. These fighters that lost to only elite men's back when they were kind of active fighters that are now making a return. And this is an interesting fight because I think Andrade is, even at this point, the real deal. But, we don't even know what caliber of fighter Murphy's going to have to stumble on. That's my biggest thing here. I think Andrade is going to have the skills all over the place. But, when you think about it, goes on to beat Cody Gibson and Henry Briones, loses to Rob Font, beats Marlon Vera, who's now becoming one of the big names in the sport. It's a crazy thing to think about,
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real tough one to call, man. There's a lot of credibility behind Douglas for sure. Where do you see the line on this one?
It's so hard, man. It's like heart wants to give Murphy a little bit of an edge based on what we saw because I think in terms of current fighter, he seems to be what we're looking for. But the Silva Andrade, man, I just think he is the real deal. Not too old, and I think a lot of older guys are finding a way to make a name for themselves even this 2020, 2021 era of UFC. And so I want to give the edge to Andrade, and I want to say it's a line of -130.
Oh man, I was really, we're long overdue for a bell here. I was really hoping to get a bell here, but Murphy is a -275 favorite.
Yo, honestly, I see the thing with me, man, is I see all of these lines making sense. None of these lines are surprising me. I gotta say, most of my lines took a lot of just where do I see some of these experienced fighters playing into, these guys who are getting big name fights, in my opinion. I don't think anyone needs to sleep on Andrade. So I got to say, man, of all of the fights you've told me so far, of every single one, this one seems to be the ultimate, sprinkle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. This one definitely just screams at me because I can't. I'm a little shocked by that line. Andrade for a plus 200 or worse, to me, is very shocking.
Plus 225. We got to consider it
officially the most shocking line for me. I will say I wasn't shocked by any line. I'm not shocked by any favorite, but overall, this is by far the most shocking line for me.
Yeah, even when doing my analysis, it seemed a little stretched to be 275 on this side. So stay tuned, but we might be sprinkling on Mr. Andrade here. That wraps up UFC Fight Island 8. Make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that bell button. All our information's below: Instagram, Twitter. Give us a follow, like, subscribe, shoot us comments. Whatever you need. Anything else you want to plug here, Siraj?
I mean, plenty of dogs on this card, so it might not be as exciting as some of the picks that we released for the upcoming card on Saturday, but keep an eye out. This card is a lot of fun fights. Forget the gambling stuff. This is a very fun card to watch. You got two contenders, headlining, and like Pi said, follow. We got plenty of MMA stuff coming out, and as always, man, it's always a pleasure, man. Love doing this shit with you. Can't wait to keep going.
Likewise, brother. And yeah, like you said, man, we get this on a Wednesday. It's a real treat. We're going to have to sacrifice watching the challenge that night. But, we get a nice UFC treat on a Wednesday. So enjoy it. And yeah, always a pleasure, brother.
My man. Take it easy. Peace.
Later.